Hey guys, welcome back to Three Losers in a Church podcast. This is episode 26, Sensational Faith. I think that's my. I'm bad at titles.
Take
We've
the
already
credit.
been over
Take
this.
the credit. Just own it, man.
I don't want to own it. I'm not proud of it.
It's your child.
Yeah. So we basically been thinking a lot lately about emotion. I got a lot of feelings. I've been thinking a lot about emotions in regard to faith. I don't know. I always hear it said and believe it said. Believe it. I always hear it said and also believe that we should, not let your faith be defined by your emotions. And just kind of wanted to talk about that general scope of ideas. Yeah, and I think a lot of it has come up in various episodes of our podcast because of it's just like inherently come up with certain topics like worship and other things, and like how much value do you place on emotional experiences in regards to God. So yeah, it's kind of the general theme of what I've been thinking about. Yeah, like, do you think there's do we rely too much on emotional experiences? Not us necessarily, us three, but we as people. Because I know you don't feel feelings, Tyler.
Yeah. I was gonna say, like, I have a really hard time. This is gonna be a tough topic.
That's why I want your perspective.
Yeah.
Because like I cry all the time.
Like people say, like, I'll sleep when I'm dead. I'm gonna cry when I'm dead.
That's slightly disturbing.
I might. Anyways, I don't know if tear
Cry at your own funeral? You would be the type of guy to do that.
I would do that.
It's so humble.
So humble.
Yeah, I don't know. For me personally, it's definitely like I go like, oh, like, I don't know. I have a hard time relating, and like I definitely I spend too much time in my own head. There's a lot of space up there if you want to like come hang out sometime.
Move in.
Yeah, it's great. I promise it's great. But yeah, so like emotional experiences are like really I probably like experience them differently than a lot of people do. And I think like a lot of people are like, oh, that worship song was just like so moving, and it was like so and like I've had those moments, but like I don't know, and it's like it's different. So like when you say like, oh, rely so heavily on them, that's like such a foreign concept.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, oh, like I was like a lot of times I'm like, I feel like I should be more emotional about this.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. I feel like yeah, and like that's like my take. And like of course then that leads to level of like I'm like, oh, are these people being genuine, or like am I not getting something because I'm like am not like moved to tears right now.
Right.
And of course those are like both terrible mindsets to have, but
I've wondered that if
Yeah.
like a whole room of people's crying about something, or they all get hit with something, and I'm just sitting there. It's like, did I miss something?
Mhm.
I don't know.
I space out pretty easy. So
You're not a
maybe.
pity crier, so.
Hmm?
You're not a pity crier, like a crying sympathizer.
I am.
Oh,
actually.
when people cry, you'll cry too.
Oh, big time, yeah.
Oh, so then you'll blend in. You're
Interesting.
fine. You're fine.
I also do that with vomiting.
I
Not nearly as good.
did not expect you to talk about that, but yes.
I'm very
I
self.
thought you were gonna be. I thought you were gonna refrain from it.
Oh no, I'm very open about that. I don't like vomit.
I don't think anyone likes vomiting.
Yeah, but I especially don't, so I win.
I like when I'm doing anything with vomit. It makes me want to vomit too. So like,
So maybe you're the same. I don't know.
I thought vomiting doesn't.
anyways, clearly our spiritual diets are working out real well here.
Right. So
relying.
that begs the other question that I wrote: like, how much weight should our emotions hold on our relationship with God? Because you were saying like maybe I should be more emotional, or is that just like a passing thought? And you're
What's
like,
the
nah, I'm
bar?
fine with my lack of emotion.
What's the bar?
You're making me out for a real sociopath.
I
What's
don't,
the
for the
line?
record, I don't think you're a sociopath. I think you just keep your composure a lot better than I do a lot of the time.
We have our moments, Chris.
and I'm a sensitive artist, so I'm very emotional.
And I'm cold and manipulating and only deal with numbers. So yeah, we're very fitting. How do we understand each other at all? I don't get it. Yeah, I like. So my answer to that is probably like yes. In probably a different way than I think most people do. Where I like a lot of the time strive for those like emotional experiences or like focus really heavily on them. Partially because I feel like I've only had a few, so I'm like, oh, those are, like, super powerful moments. But then I like think about them and go like, oh, was I just kind of like swept up in a lot?
Do you analyze it after, like a post analysis of your?
Do you know me at all?
You right. You right. Oh
Yeah,
ow.
I don't know, and like
It's not pleasant.
there's a few like where I think, yeah, I don't know. I don't want to get too much into them. I mean, we can. I don't know.
Take the floor, man.
Yeah, I don't. But I guess on kind of the flip side of that, like, I do think a lot of people do rely heavily on emotions as kind of like their gauge for how things are going. Which I think is what you're trying to get out there.
Yeah, I probably didn't articulate it too well, but I guess I was thinking kind of like along the lines of retreats, where people like seek out that emotional,
The spiritual, emotional high.
yeah, that retreat. You go and cry, and like that determines whether or not it was a really impactful, powerful retreat.
I like joked about that with Hanem. I was like, if I don't cry at this retreat, I want my money back.
Right, which like that's funny, but at the same time, it's like,
yeah, there's some level of truth there, too.
Yeah.
And like, I think it's like that's an easy metric to put on it, right? Like, I have shed 786 tears, therefore it was a quality retreat, right? Like, but that was an exaggeration.
No,
You looked very confused.
my face is just gonna be like this for the rest of the night because I'm. Yeah,
but like
you're fine.
Yeah, like it's weird because I have a really I'm on the complete opposite end of that. So like it's like understanding that is like weird. Like I don't know, like I guess I'm not on the complete other side of that. I like a lot of the times go like, oh, I don't think I got a lot out of this because I didn't have that emotional response.
I'd argue you're more of a middle type of like. Okay, if we were to like put it on a spectrum of like emotional,
I have emotions to clarify.
Yes. Like you're not that bad compared to like for me. Like when I think of this, like I actually. Because I am of the Asian variety and I come from an Asian background, like
what?
I know, surprise guy. Oh, by the way, in case you didn't know, I'm Asian. Taiwanese to be specific. The issue that I've experienced growing up, it wasn't we're too emotional. It's we're too legalistic and textbook. Or too information based.
Yeah.
Like a lot of my peers, it was like, oh, like how much do you know? Do you know this structure? Do you know like this fact or this like theology and like how do you apply it and all that stuff? Like, so like similar to Tyler, it's like, oh, like the pursuit of the emotion was something that I grew up with. It was like, oh, like I understand the information, but where does God come in? Like, am I allowed to feel? Or like, what do I even feel when it comes to said emotions? That was just my own personal experience. And then I jumped off the deep end and then I became very emotional. But like for me, I'm like trying to find that healthy balance of like, oh, knowledge in the head, but then also being drawn by your heart. And I know like I'm heavily swayed by my heart, even though I try not to let it sway me.
I feel that.
I mean, I would, yeah, definitely. Also, it just probably manifests differently in each of us.
Well, yeah, which makes sense.
Yeah, we are three different people.
God, we are.
3 losers.
Integer. Yeah, like I don't know. I like think of like it's very easy to put yourself in like a retreat setting. But I think about just like regular daily interactions where like you're like, oh, like I really like want to see that person, like or like hang out with them, and you're like, I don't know what it's called.
Okay. I was thinking kind of like biblical examples of like salvation, where it's not necessarily it probably is emotional. They just didn't dictate that because why would you? But like, the woman at the well, like it doesn't show her like breaking down and crying and like, or even celebrating or like really anything. It just shows her kind of reacting. And same with that guy in the carriage who's like, I need to be baptized like right now. It's not like this big emotional baptismal experience. It might be, but like
he was moved by it.
yeah.
Also thought you were gonna say the man in the carrot for some reason, but I'm just dumb.
Are there carrots in the Bible?
I don't think carrots are
native to
that region.
Darn.
They might be though. I don't know.
It's okay. Carrots suck.
What? They're great.
We need another episode
about carrots.
of a carrot.
That was a joke for another episode. We alternatively titled an episode "Carrots." I don't remember what episode it was. But
back to biblical stuff. David, I think, and I would argue, was very emotive about his relationship with God.
True.
Granted, he didn't write all the Psalms, but I think in the themes of Psalms, like the highs and the lows, like if you were to even open your Bible and flip to any random Psalms passage, it'd just probably be like, my heart is being torn apart by lions and all that stuff. And you're like, gosh, you're such a drama queen. But I think
it's a fragile artist.
Fragile artist, Chris Hort. I don't know. I think he would be a good example of just like talking about like, the lows are the lows, but then like when he's riding his highs, he's just like, yeah, but God, like, actually no, he's a good example where like he has his lows, but then he is reminded that God is so good, right?
I just have to say, I opened to a random psalm on the Bible app. Save me from the mouth of the lion.
There we go. See,
literally, that's good.
He does like his lion analogies a lot.
Yeah.
Nom nom nom, if you know what I mean. I don't even know what I mean.
It's so like we equate emotion. I feel like there's two like lanes where it's like God is all emotion or God is all knowledge. And like understanding God is like only those two avenues. But it's like and like it's so easy to like, get in one of those and like stay there.
Yeah.
Right.
You're like, okay, it's like so I understand the scripture and I understand like what's going on, like I understand like all these things and like these stories and concepts and ideas and like maybe they don't all click together, but like I understand the big story and everything goes along with it and everything. Or there's like, oh, like I like feel this passion or this drive or like there's there's nothing else I could like there's that God-shaped hole in my heart and like those kind of things. And it's like it's very hard to connect them in some ways, or maybe like that would just maybe be a me thing. But like, I feel like it's like you're riding one train to the other.
Yeah.
So you're just saying like that's how you feel like this issue is being addressed, or like people see these two camps.
Yeah, I like that's how I think most people.
Mm-hmm.
I'm making an assumption, but yeah, like, and it's because it's like. They feel opposing in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
But I mean, they're not. We all know that. But like,
yeah. But I'm like, I definitely think more on the emotional side of things. Like, I had a conductor in college, and he was like, "Yeah, everyone like you're either a feeler or a thinker." And I remember saying like, "Yeah, I think I'm a thinker." And my girlfriend was just like, "Are you serious?" And she pointed some things out, and I was like, "Oh yeah." Why is Siri talking right now?
Oh, you sat on your phone, huh?
Siri heard me say, "Are you serious?" And she said, "I'm serious."
Fascinating.
Serious. That's.
I don't know what's going on there.
It didn't even make the pun, but yeah, I thought about it. I was like, yeah, I guess I am I'm a feeler.
Please don't do that. Oh, it's uncomfortable.
Clarify, I put my arms out and like wiggled my fingers.
Ever so slightly. That's how he waves hello to people.
But yeah, then I have to sometimes go out of my way to think like about the intellectual or however you want to phrase it side of things. Or like take the emotion out of it and like what do I know about God and like my salvation and like this aspect of Christianity and blah blah blah, like whatever I'm thinking about or dealing with at the time. Like sometimes it's
Yeah.
like don't let your heart or your feelings get in the way of like what's actually happening here.
That's true.
I think like because when you said that, I immediately thought like, am I a thinker or a feeler? Which I thought so. I assume I'm a thinker, but I would have to do some some deep thinking to figure it out.
You're disgusting.
But like it's very interesting because like even in that sentence, they're like a very opposing idea. Like they're opposite forces, right? Where like they don't like really go together. Thinking and feeling, like
Right.
they're opposites. They don't. But it's like, well, that's not like true though.
Mm.
They're not. They're very together and connected and like.
It's just kind of like how it's portrayed. Like when I think like the word thinking versus feeling, I feel like
impulsivity versus like.
Wow, you have. I was gonna say rashness, but yes, that sounds a lot nicer.
Yeah, versus like contemplating.
You are really on point. Yes.
This is my prime time right now.
Yeah. I'm like, I don't know what words I didn't even know what to do with thinking. It's like there's something out there. But yeah, it's like, like a calculated decision that has all the factors I've been taken into, whereas like the feeling, the emotion is like it's just rash. It's just uncouth. I don't know. Ugh. But that's not necessarily true.
Yeah, I would argue that. Yeah.
And I like how Chris talked about like, taking what you know and then kind of like, for me, like it's taking what I know and then applying my emotion to it, right? So I'm saying I appreciate and I'm in awe of what I know, but I feel it somewhere deep there, right? But then just to clarify too, and I know we're all on the same page about this, but it's okay to be, you don't have to be one or the other, and it's okay. I honestly think it's okay to be either or a mix of both.
Yeah.
But like so when I say okay, like of course like not to the extremes, right? Like those who are so like I feel in my heart that I must go like to Africa and be a missionary. Like in my heart, I am moved by that emotion. It's just like
right. Like is that the spirit or is that your emotions telling you?
Yeah. I would just say it would be really hard to be the extremes of like solely like a feeler or solely a thinker.
I will say it's easy to be. I can see the extremes of both very easily.
But like there's a level of like there's always gonna be, because I feel like I'm pretty far towards the thinker side. And I think both of you would agree with that.
I feel like you're not.
But like,
sorry.
But like, then there's the other sense of like, oh, but like, I still do things impulsively, and I like still like, like, go like, wow, yeah, like I know this is not what the correct answer is, but like this is the part of me that like deep inside,
it's drawn,
like,
convicted.
Yeah. And so like I think it would like if you reached a point where like you solely thought like without any type of connection, I would argue that that's not okay.
Oh yes,
that's when you become a sociopath, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, basically. But like, and then on the opposite side of that, like just like, I don't want to equate impulsiveness.
Sure.
And,
no. Yeah.
And emotion and like controlling and manipulative and thinking. Because I think those are really negative aspects of both sides of those. But there's also like creativity and like, understanding and knowledge. But like, I think if you were at either extremes of that, like that's bad. Like,
oh yeah.
I would debate if it's even possible
on both ends. Yeah. It's just it's concerning. Like when I think of a thinker, extremist thinker, it's like people who are very legalistic, very like they like nitpick at. They're so obsessed with the rules and like the Pharisees. Then like the emotional aspect people, like I don't know if the Bible has the equivalent of that, but like they are people who like kind of, I would argue, get disillusioned with their feelings and then twisting it into like what their agenda wants. Again, maybe that's just stretch. I have like,
I agree with you.
Like for instance, like I say this hesitantly because I don't have that much experience, but like the idea of charismatic churches, right? heavily rely on feeling to the point where like maybe they even get manipulated via their feelings, right? Using that platform, the emotional platform, to manipulate people to get what they want. It's like, oh, like you're feeling all these emotions, you're so sad. Why don't you donate all this money for this cause, or like throw yourself into like this objective or this organization for the sake of that, right? I've seen people who say, I feel that God has told me via my feelings to befriend this individual and marry them. And it's just like, you're in like 7th grade.
Yeah, and like I immediately thought of like worship planning because that's my life apparently. Where like I'm
It's like
like
you're a worship leader or something.
or like I'm always like, okay, like let's get those passages, let's get those themes, and like let's plan out the whole weekend. Or like let's do the 5 songs, you know, boom, keys, boom, organize everything, right? Like verse, chorus, boom, like label everything out, get the slides, like get all that done. And then there's some people where it's like, well, let's just go and see what happens. And I hate that. But
Is this okay?
And so like
I'm getting clarity from a previous conversation we just had.
Interesting. Oh, not interesting. Not where I was
Oh,
going.
okay.
Yeah, and so like that's just kind of how I wrapped my head around that idea.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think it's not a perfect example. Because I think if we were to be true image bearers, then, which is not an analogy I use terribly often, but then like there has to be a level and a mixture of both, because like if you were to approach life without emotion or without thought, like
because God did both.
Right. So like you
Does
are
both.
dusty.
Sorry.
Like you're missing a very big piece of life if you don't have either of those. Yeah, and of course, like we're never gonna perfectly navigate life involving both emotion and thought, because in a way they are kind of opposing. Maybe not in the same way that we think about them, but I think they have a little push and pull.
Yeah.
But like it's, I don't know. Like you can't go through. I like. Yeah, so I have a hard time where you said like it's okay if you're like on the extreme ends of that, and I think you were meaning something else.
No, I don't. Yeah, I'm not. I disagree with that state. I didn't. If I said that, that's not what I meant. I meant it's okay to feel. I think it's, for me, it's like I'm addressing kind of like, my father always told me, "You're too emotional, Sam." And I hate that statement. I still hate that statement to this day. So like for me, when I say like it's okay to be either, that's what I'm addressing internally.
Yeah.
Not to, I don't like that. That's got really like dark, but like it's just like my father's a thinker, and he's like, like because of this, therefore like that. And then for me, I'm like, I feel God's love through people. I feel God's love through just like my interactions. I feel.
I feel that.
Thank you. But I can also think and see like how God is in those moments, right? Like I can see like how he's worked. But like I think for me it's just like kind of that scar. It's like old man Sue didn't necessarily agree with the way I approached it. And I don't agree with the way he approaches it. And I think for me, I say that statement to affirm those who feel like they have to be one or the other. I think you can be both. I've been in situations where like I have turned off my emotions because I'm just like, I'm trying to be objective and like gain all these. I'm trying to gain information in this moment as opposed to like just letting myself let go. I think like especially in leadership positions, that's where like I'm just like, yeah, I will refrain from feeling. And this comes down to the individual, right? I refrain from feeling because I want to like compose myself.
That's like sometimes the hardest thing for me in a leadership position. It's like I feel so many things, but I have to act rationally, for lack of a better word.
Yeah, this past retreat, I just let it go. I was just like, no. But yeah,
and sometimes it'd be like that.
it sometimes be like that. Yeah.
They do.
Like this past the past fall retreat we had, I didn't shed a single tear. I appreciate it. I was really joyful, and I felt those emotions, but I didn't let them override me.
I also realized I always equate being emotional with crying necessarily, which is not true. But for me, that's like the epitome of being emotional. It's just like breaking down and crying.
Yeah.
But sometimes this is not how feeling things feels.
Sometimes that's not how feeling things feels.
Yeah.
Yes.
Good job.
Well, that sentence did take me a second to process. I will admit.
Probably incorrect.
Is it?
Yeah,
it works. I mean, barely.
Barely.
Yeah, and like, I had a very interesting conversation with somebody very recently about this, and like, there's moments where like, I don't know. I don't understand people. Period. But I don't
You're
understand.
really not helping your case here.
I'm not a sociopath. Like I don't like people who can just get so excited. Where like okay, I have my fair shares where I'm like really jazzed about something. I'm like super excited and like hyper, and like there's moments where I'm like, okay, I'm being a little too much. But like there's some people who just like yeah, and I'm like I'm never that like excited about something.
Right.
In reference to faith or in anything?
Or anything.
Even
really,
sometimes it's like, orange juice. Yes.
I don't know, man. I've seen you get
orange
really
juice.
jazzed about music pieces and compositions.
I mean, there's times. Yeah, I don't know. I maybe it's just like I'm putting those emotions on a pedestal and idolizing them in some ways. But
do you want to be more emotional?
I mean, I think it's hard not to not want that. Like it's very difficult to like not understand people well when they like. I don't know, because like interacting with people, it's very like an emotional interaction. A lot of times I feel myself like, oh, like I can give you all the answers all day, but like and I can like in my head I go, I know exactly how you feel, and like yes, but like it's like very difficult to like communicate that and like be like, oh wow, yeah, like I don't know. I feel like it's difficult to relate with people if you can't like.
Yeah, you can't like
express
empathize
that.
or relate.
Well, but
or
like
anything.
there's a difference between like because I'm not a sociopath. I can like empathize with people. Like,
Right,
I
yeah.
understand what people go through.
Yeah, and I'm not implying that you're a sociopath, for the record.
But like I don't know. But it's like, and well, some of it's probably like pride and also like insecurity in some ways where I'm like, oh, but like this person doesn't. I don't think this person thinks that I understand what they're going through. Because I can say like, no, I totally understand what you're going through, but it's easy to say that.
Right.
And,
I understand on an intellectual level maybe what you're going through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like I think people just think I'm like disgenuine most times when I say that.
Mm-hmm.
Because I feel like when people say that to me and they're not like really like, yeah, no, I feel like
Right.
then I feel like they're being disgenuine. So but like Chris, on your side, I'm sure there's moments where you go like, yeah, I wish I could like, be like shut that emotional side up. Like, okay, let me look at these facts and present these ideas.
So much.
So we always want something we don't have.
Yeah. I'm in the same camp as Chris. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry at all.
It's a healthy balance.
Right. Well, when you're dealing with like, personal finance, for example, your emotions don't really matter. Facts don't care about your feelings.
They don't ever. Especially dollars and cents. They really don't care about your feelings.
But then I feel like this conversation just kind of reminds me that like as individuals we have different drives and like goals, right? Like what was it? The word I recently learned was like equanimity, like the balance of all emotion. And I think for me, like that was really when I heard of that word, I was like, wow, like that's something like I really want to like strive for, because it's like I think for emotions, like you can always overstay or like over identify with one or two emotion, like certain emotions, right? For instance, let's use like faith, and then like I associate with like joy or like sadness. If I over like identify with such things, it becomes detrimental because it really shapes how I view the world or even myself.
Yeah, it's like a very one-dimensional faith
Yeah.
at that point.
And I think that's where like you have to, and I know like our next
episode is about that.
well, yeah, Sad Boys.
Yeah.
With an I.
We're gonna get all the feelings out.
I like that.
That's funny.
But it's just like talking about like over identifying with certain feelings. And I think I don't know, that's like kind of like my issue when it comes to emotion. People who rely too much on emotion and faith because they just focus on a certain way they're supposed to feel, right? I struggle with this because 2018 when we had fall retreat, the way I described it, so when I describe feelings or emotions, I talk about it in like the sense of like it felt like a warm ball of light that I was holding to my chest. And it was just overflowing with like this warm, like the tendrils of light just like flowing out my hands. And I was like, wow, this is such a beautiful like thing to cherish. Now I just sound like a wacko emotional individual, but like that's like
it sounds like you're speaking a different language. To me
Sorry,
right now, by the
that's
way.
pretty eloquent.
I'm very visual when I'm as you guys I need the tangible, but like for me, like that's how I see that like that moment. It was so precious, right? And I was like holding on to it. I was like the moment I saw was like witnessing college students just crying and singing out to the Lord, just like really being the children of God. And I was like, if this is just like a fraction of what God feels when He sees us, then like that's insane. I was very, very like that feeling just like engulfed me. But then fast forward to 2019 fall retreat, I was seeking that feeling again.
I feel attacked because I led worship that retreat.
Who led worship during
It's
the
okay,
other?
I was the guest speaker, so you're in good company.
Oopsie. Coincidentally, no. I was also focusing on making a video that weekend. Compared to
I was pulling your leg. It's okay.
You didn't have to justify not
No.
crying over my sermon.
Or my guitar playing. Or my words.
I want my money back. No, but like, yeah, so like even like internally I was like I think going in I was like I'm a college co-director now. There's no more Josh Raskin, blah blah blah. I need to like put on this front that I'm like stable and everything. And I kept but even though I did that, like I was still looking for that feeling. And I think that was a good example for me of just realizing I over-identify. Like, it's okay to have those moments where you cherish it, but then you have to realize you're not going to be able to replicate that same feeling. Like, if I was like holding the like that feeling like right here like this, I was doing that same motion, but there was nothing to hold because I wasn't realizing. Like, I wasn't internally. My emotions like I want that feeling, that high again. But no, instead I came out of it realizing I am seeing like how God has been working via like a thinking manner. I was like, this is good. This is okay. But yeah. I don't know. That was just me as a very visceral, like, oh, warm tendrils light ball like thing. But yeah.
Which I think, I mean, it really relates back to that first question you asked, Chris, where it was like, how much pressure and like weight do we put on this idea of like emotion in faith? And of course that answer varies in this room and in everyone, but like even I, as sociopathic as I can be,
That's it.
I'd be a great sociopath. I'm just kidding. It's like it's a big piece of it, and like whether in what way that manifests and shows is like different for everybody. Like it's still a crucial part. Yeah.
Dab.
Emotions are dumb.
Hey, you're not wrong.
Amen.
They're wicked dumb.
You are not wrong. So is thinking.
Everything's wicked dumb.
Yeah. There is overfeeling and there's overthinking.
That's an interesting concept.
Overfeeling?
No, both. Both are terribly interesting. I mean, I do both, but
They're both dark holes
yeah.
that people just...
Ooh, that's a tangent we didn't go on. We should not. We'll get into that next week.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm excited for Sad Boys.
Yeah, you stole my line. I'm excited for the next couple episodes. We have some kind of like, I don't want to say odd topics, things that you would not expect the three of us to talk about. This has been episode 26. 26. That's wild. Thank you guys for listening. Make sure to check us out on our website, 3losers.com. 3 losers in a church. I just didn't say that word.
Wow.
Spit the sound. Yeah, check out our website. You can see where we stream, basically anywhere where podcasts are. If we're not where you want to listen, tell us and I'll put us there. Yeah, make sure to like and subscribe, comment, tell a friend. Yeah, thanks for listening, guys.
Ding.
Yeah, it means a lot. Yeah, I think that we really care about this, and we hope you guys do too. Yeah. So, episode 26. I literally do not remember the title.
Sensational faith.
Sensational faith. Thanks for listening, guys. We out.
We out.
Have a good one.